Hello, this is Blair from Bubble Books, and today I'll be reading the first chapter of Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Meltdown. Everybody in my neighborhood is outside today enjoying the warm weather and sunshine. Well, everyone except me. It's kind of hard to enjoy a heat wave when it's the middle of the winter. People are calling this wacky weather, but it just doesn't feel right. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I think it should be cold in the winter and hot in the summer. I've heard the whole planet is warming up, and that human beings are the reason. But don't blame me, because I just got here. If the world is getting hotter, I just hope it doesn't happen too fast. Because if things keep up at this rate, I'll be riding a camel to high school. They say the ice caps are melting and the sea is rising, so I've been trying to convince Mom and Dad to buy a house higher up on our hill. But they just don't seem all that concerned. It makes me kind of nervous that I'm the only one in my family worried about this stuff. Because if we don't do something about the situation soon, we're gonna wish we did. It's not just the rising sea levels I'm nervous about. Those ice caps have been around for millions of years, and there could be things buried inside of them that should stay that way. I saw a movie about a caveman who got frozen in ice, and when it melted thousands of years later, he was still alive. I don't know if that kind of thing could actually happen in real life, but if there are unfrozen cavemen walking around these days, the night janitor at my school might be one of them. If we do figure out a way out of this climate mess, it's probably going to be someone from my generation who solves it. That's why I'm always nice to the smart kids, because they're the ones who are going to save our butts. Whatever the answer is, I guarantee you, technology is going to be the key. Grown-ups are always saying that too much technology is bad for kids, but I say the more, the better. In fact, as soon as I can afford one of those high-tech toilets that learns all your habits, I'm going to get the most expensive model. Some people worry that one day we'll lose control over our technology and robots will take over. Well, if that happens, I'm going to make sure I'm on their side. I've actually been preparing for when the robots take over by sucking up to the appliances in my house. So, when there's a giant robot-human war in the future, I'll be patting myself on the back for thinking ahead. My brother Roderick says in the future, people will have robot body parts and we'll all be cyborgs. Well, I hope I don't have to wait too long for that, because if I could buy myself a pair of robot legs, I could get half an hour of extra sleep each morning. I guess we don't really know what's going to happen in the future, and you could drive yourself crazy worrying about it. Even if we solve all the problems we have right now, some new thing will come along, and then we'll have to deal with that. I've read that's what happened with the dinosaurs. They were riding high for a couple 100 million years, and then an asteroid came and wiped them out. What's really crazy is that cockroaches were around back then, and somehow they survived, and they'll probably be here long after we're gone too. Personally, I think cockroaches are disgusting, but they must be doing something right. Speaking of survival, right now, I'm just trying to get through middle school, and the last few days haven't been all that great. Even though it's warm outside, the thermostat at school still thinks it's winter, so the furnace is on full blast all day, which makes it hard to concentrate in class. And it's worse in the cafeteria, because there aren't any windows you can open to get fresh air. The heat has been frying my brain, and I've been forgetting when my school assignments are due. I forgot a really big one today, which was my country project for the International Showcase. Back in November, everyone had to choose a country to do a report on. I picked Italy because I'm a huge fan of pizza. But it turns out Italy was a really popular choice, so my social studies teacher had to do a random drawing to decide who got it. And she chose Dennis Trachton, which isn't fair because he's lactose intolerant and can't even eat cheese. So, the teacher assigned me Malta, which I didn't even know was a country. Anyways, that was 2 months back, and I didn't give my country project a second thought until today. And the only reason I remembered was because when I got to school, everybody was wearing weird clothes. I probably should have realized it was International Showcase Day when my friend Rowley came by to get me for school wearing a crazy getup. But he's always doing strange stuff, so I barely even noticed. In homeroom, I took a look at Riley's project to see how much work was involved, and that's when I started to panic. His report looked like it took a ton of time, and it was pretty obvious his parents helped him with it. Of course, Riley had actually been to the country he got assigned, so I'm sure that made it a lot easier for him. I asked Riley to be a pal and switch countries with me, but he's kind of selfish, so he wouldn't go for it. That meant I was on my own, and I only had a few hours to do my whole project from scratch, and I didn't know where I was going to find a trifold this late in the game. That's when I remembered I had a trifold in my locker. I had started my country project the day after it was assigned, so I could get ahead of things for once. But when I pulled it out to see how far I'd gotten, I was pretty disappointed. This project was 50% of my social studies grade, so I was pretty desperate. I tried getting help from my classmates, but all that did was remind me I need to get some smarter friends. I stayed indoor for recess to work on my project. I didn't have time to go down to the library for research, so I had to do a lot of guessing. The only thing I felt pretty sure about was that Malta was near Russia, but I was pretty shaky on everything else. Once I finished filling out my trifold, I started working on the other stuff. We were supposed to wear our country's traditional dress for the international showcase, so on the way to lunch, I picked out some clothes from the lost and found in front of the principal's office. Luckily, there were a few decent items in the box, and I put together an outfit that looks pretty convincing. Everyone was supposed to bring in a traditional meal, too. At lunch, I brought in as many items as I could afford and threw something together that seemed like it might have come from another country. The international showcase was during the last period, and when I set up my project in the gym, I was actually feeling pretty good about things. But I wish I'd gotten assigned a country where they wore lighter clothes because the furnace was still on full blast. The heat was getting to some other kids too, and tempers were starting to flare. At one point, Brazil and Bulgaria got in a fight over table space, and a teacher had to come break it up. Kids came in from the elementary school to check out our projects and ask some questions, but all I had to do to get them to move along was to pretend I only spoke Maltese. After that, the parents started to arrive. Luckily, mine couldn't come because Dad was at work and Mom was at her college. But some kid in my grade has a mom and dad who are actually from Malta, which was really bad luck for me. I thought they were going to report me to my teacher, and I was ready to make a run for it. But then something happened that got me off the hook. The fight that started between Brazil and Bulgaria flared up again and spilled over to the C and D countries, and before long, the whole gym was at war. Luckily, the bell rang and school got dismissed before anyone got seriously hurt, but the whole situation doesn't exactly give me a lot of hope for world peace. And that brings us to the end of the first chapter in Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Meltdown. Now Brooke will be sharing his thoughts on the book.
Okay, guys, I really enjoyed this book, and it was amazing because it was very relatable and it was very understanding. I also liked how there were some humorous parts in the middle of it and towards the end of the first chapter. It was amazing, and I would definitely keep reading. 10 out of 10 book.